Hello and welcome back to your next VLC orientation video. In this video, we're going to be talking about two of the most important things to you at VLC, and that is attendance and grading. So in this video, we are going to talk about some changes to the attendance policy. So if you've been with us at VLC in the past, this may have changed, so it's important that you listen up. We're going to go over the entire VLC attendance policy, and then we're going to review some of the grading policies that are important to you here at VLC. Let's talk attendance first. So if you've been with us at VLC in the past, attendance has changed maybe since the last time you had classes with us. So here's the big change. Attendance is now going to be based on daily student participation in their classes. So let's go over what that's going to mean and what that's going to look like for you all. So we're going to review the full attendance policy, and I'm going to go over it with you all in full so that we can make sure that we know exactly what this means for us. So I'm going to focus on the VLC attendance policy students side over here, and I'll read it to you in full and then just kind of clarify anything that we need to. So let's talk about it. Students must participate in each of their classes daily in order to be marked present and participating for each class. Daily participation in each class is defined by either presence and participation in the live Google Meet lesson for that class period, or progress and or completion of the daily class formative task or check-in, teacher discretion, before or during the teacher's class period. So at VLC, we are a school without walls. So our schedule is what you would have if you were at an in-person school in Fayette County. So how we are going to do our attendance for this school year is daily participation in each of your classes, just like if you were at another Fayette County in-person school. So what that means for you, you have two different ways that you can get counted as present and participating in class. The easiest way for you all to get counted as present and participating in class is to come to your live Google Meets for each of your classes. But let's say you have something going on, you're in a car on the way to a tournament, or you've got a doctor's appointment or something like that, then there's another way you can get counted as present and participating for that class period. So the second way that you can get counted as present and participating for a class period is to complete or to make progress on. So I know for me, I'm an English teacher, so sometimes progress will be my attendance measure. So make progress on or do the daily formative or attendance check-in or whatever task your teacher posts for that day. So I know for me in some of my classes what that's going to look like. If I have a written formative for that day, if by the end of my class period that you have me for, you have made a little progress on, so even if you haven't fully completed it, but if you've made a little progress on that thing that I've posted for my class that day before the end of my class period, even if you weren't on my live Google Meet, I'm still going to mark you as present and participating because technically you participated in my daily task for that day. Okay, so that makes sense. We'll go over it one more time. The easiest way to get counted as present is to come to the live Google Meets. Those are very important. That's where we go over all of our models, examples, we do things together. I can't encourage you enough to come to your live classes. But on the days that you can't, all of your teachers are going to post all of our stuff for the day at 8:30. So even if you're in fourth block, if you know you're going to be out during fourth block, you have to work or you have an appointment, you can at 8:30 open up your fourth block assignment and go ahead and do a couple things on it so that you can get your participation and attendance for that day in that class. Okay, makes sense? Daily participation in each class. Either come to your Google Meet or complete whatever your teacher, or make progress on whatever your teacher has posted for that class for that day. If you have any questions about what you need to do for your attendance, you would just need to ask your individual teachers what they are going to have for attendance for that day. Okay? Now, let's talk about if you do not attend the live Google Meet for a class, you must have made progress on or completed the daily class formative task or check-in by the end of that teacher's class period. So it's not by the end of the day. If I have you first block and you don't come to the live Google Meet and then I don't get your assignment, any progress on your assignment until 4th block, you are still technically absent for my 1st block class because you didn't participate during or before 1st block for that day, okay? So make sure that you keep that in mind. It's by the end of that teacher's class period, you must have done one of those 2 things to get your attendance. If the daily task for a class is a proctored quiz or test, so if it is a test day in your class and your teacher requires you to be live in the Google Meet for the test and on GoGuardian, and you cannot make it, then your participation for that day, your attendance for that day would be based on you contacting that teacher before or during their class to schedule a new time to take your test. To have an absence be excused, then your parent or guardian has to email an excuse note, so you can no longer email your teachers or email Miss Epps yourself. It has to be a parent or a guardian emailing your excuse note to Miss Epps, and her email address is tasha.epps@fayette.kyschools.us. And if no parent note is submitted to Miss Epps, the absence will be considered unexcused. If a teacher is absent and cannot have a live Google Meet that day, so there will be days where we have to take days off for our own personal appointments and that kind of thing. So if we cannot have a live Google Meet that day, then the teacher will post, they will tell you the requirements for getting your attendance done for that day for them. So they'll either change their Canvas course homepage to give you that information, send you a Canvas message, send you an email, send you a text. You will hear from your teacher if they're absent to let you know how to get counted present and participating for them for that day for their class. All right, that is our attendance policy that we will be using for this school year. If you have any further questions, just let your teachers know, and we are happy to go back over that since for some of us this may be a pretty big change. All right, so one more time, here's how to submit an excuse note. So if you get counted absent in a class, if you didn't do one of those 2 things before or during the class period that you missed, then you have to submit an excuse note to get that absence excused. So a parent or guardian can email Miss Tasha Epps, and her email address is tasha.epps@fayette.kyschools.us, and then just make sure your parent or guardian includes your name and the date or dates of your absence. That way it'll make the process a lot faster. Okay, let's talk about grading. This is super important for all of you. So we've got a couple of different ways that we grade for high school and middle school students. This is really the only difference here, so we'll go over that just really quickly. For high school students, let's talk to you first. High school grades are based on semester grades in each course. What that means for you is that you have to pass high schoolers each individual semester in order to pass the whole class. So to pass English 1, you have to pass semester 1 and semester 2 individually to get your full English 1 credit. So what that also means is that all work for semester 1 has to be submitted at the end of semester 1. So you cannot do semester 1 work during semester 2. So semester 1 ends in December. So that means you can't think, oh, I'll just do that semester 1 stuff in January after break. It's not going to work. So semester 1 work is due at the end of semester 1. Semester 2 work is due at the end of semester 2. Each semester is individual. All right, so make sure that you are keeping up with your semester 1 work and finishing it by this end of semester 1, and same with semester 2. VLC middle school students, let's talk to you next. So your grades are based on quarter grades. So you have 4 individual quarters throughout a school year, and each of those is individual. So in order to pass an entire course, you have to pass 3 out of your 4 quarters. So if you fail 1 quarter, but pass all the rest of your quarters, then you can probably still pass a course. But if you don't, if you fail 2 quarters, then you cannot pass that course. So it's very important to be keeping up with when your quarters end and making sure your quarter grades are passing and where you want them to be. All work for each quarter is due at the end of each quarter, and your teachers will communicate with you when those deadlines are coming up for your quarter grades. All right, so now let's talk about percentages. Okay, so at VLC, we have 2 grading categories. So we have 2 different types of assignments that you will complete with us in your classes. The first one is called formative assignments. If you've been with us before, you've heard us say these words. So formative assignments are going to be the smaller class assignments. So these are things like practices, discussion, homework, exit tickets, organizers, that kind of thing. Those are worth 20% of your overall grade. Now, that's doesn't seem like a lot, but let me tell you, I've had students that if they didn't do the vast majority of their formatives, that really, really ended up hurting their grade at the end of a semester. So even though it seems like a small number, that does still have a real impact in your grade. So formatives are important because they are how you form your learning. And so when we give you formatives, it is because there is some bigger assignment, bigger project, bigger paper that we're trying to help you practice the skills for. So if you do your formatives and you take your feedback on your formatives and use that to improve, chances are you're going to do better on your summatives, which are the bigger portion of your grade. So let's talk summative assignments. That's your other category of assignment that you will face, and these are the most important ones. So summatives are the bigger assignments, the ones that you will do towards the end of a module or a unit. These are things like quizzes, tests, projects, papers, presentations, those big things. This is usually your final demonstration of what you have learned during that unit or module. So summatives count for 80% of your overall grade. That is a big number. So what that means for you is that you really cannot have any summatives missing. There's probably not many summatives, so anywhere between 3 and 8 summatives usually for a course, depending on what kind of course you're in. I know for English, it's on the lower side because a lot of our summatives are longer papers. So just pay attention, because if you're missing one summative, that can drop your grade to failing. So it's really important that you prioritize your summatives. When your teacher tells you that you have a summative coming up, we need to write that in our calendar. We need to make sure we are keeping up with all of the individual deadlines for those summatives that your teachers are giving you, and taking every opportunity, if your teacher allows you to redo a summative or retake a summative or revise a paper or something like that, take those opportunities, because that's going to have the biggest impact on your grade. All right, late work. Let's talk about late work. So while there's no late work penalty in points on assignments, there are a couple of late work final deadlines that you need to remember. The first one is for formative assignments, those smaller assignments. So we have a policy here at VLC, since formatives are used to kind of build our knowledge to prepare for the summative. Formative assignments for each unit will lock and will not be able to be accessed or completed at the end of each unit. And the unit ends when the summative has been taken. So when you take your unit test or complete your unit project, your formatives will lock and you cannot go back and complete them, which means if any are missing, then that 0 is going to stick in the gradebook. So it's going to be really important that you listen to your teachers for those final formative lock dates. I know some of your teachers, I usually give about a week after the summative for my students. So your teachers might be a little bit more flexible, but know that those formatives are going to lock at some point. So it's important that you listen to your teachers for that lock deadline. We will send emails or Canvas messages to remind you of those lock deadlines, but once they lock, they stay locked. So it's important that you're keeping up with that and know that that's coming, and make sure you finish your unit formatives by the end of that unit. You can't go back to unit 1 formatives during unit 2. All right. And then also teachers will set a final deadline for work at the end of each semester. So because we have a lot of students, we have to make sure we have all of our grades submitted and that we're still giving good feedback on the work that you give to us. We usually have to leave ourselves a couple of days to get stuff graded at the end of the semester. So depending on the class you're in, I know for English classes where we have those longer assignments, sometimes our final deadline is a couple days before the end of the semester. So make sure that you are keeping up with all of your teachers' individual final deadlines for, like, this is the last day we will take anything, because we have to have time to get stuff graded. All right, so those are our two final late work deadlines that you need to be aware of. And finally, let's talk about academic dishonesty. So our behavior policy does state that a student may receive a points deduction on a reattempt of an assignment if they exhibited academically dishonest behavior like cheating, plagiarism, or unauthorized AI use on their first attempt. And to see those possible deductions, you can look at our behavior policy or our academic integrity policy, which is an orientation video in this series. All right, finally, let's talk about the most accurate place to check for your current course grade. So the best place to check for your grades, anything related to grades, is going to be Infinite Campus. So there was a video on how to check Infinite Campus, and just a reminder that Infinite Campus is the place to go for all things grades. Canvas's grade calculation is not always the most accurate because teachers might choose to not include everything in the final grade count. If we did a practice and everyone did poorly, sometimes I'll choose not to include that because it told me that I needed to reteach it. So Canvas's grades are not the best place to go for your most accurate grade in a course. Always use Infinite Campus when you're looking for your actual course grade. And if you don't remember how to use Infinite Campus, you can always go back to the Infinite Campus video in this orientation series. And that is the end of our video on attendance and grading policies here at VLC. I will see you all in the next video.